That is so awesome, Jennifer. So thank you for sharing. And for those of you who logged on late, Jennifer was just sharing about how she cleaned something up with her friend. And here's the thing, we're going to continue this integrity conversation because we just had the basic foundation of just getting present to the simple things as being on time, recognizing when you're wrong, or acknowledging something as small or something as significant. And here's the thing that I want you, Jennifer, and first of all, I want to acknowledge you because I bet it took, were you a little uncomfortable making that call initially?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right?
Like I said, it was embarrassing, but after talking to you, I was like, okay, this is a sign. It had been bothering me, and I had been thinking about saying something, and after our call, I was like, you know what, now's the time. I need to do it.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Actually, oh, my God, this is so great. So I'm reading this book called Ask for it and you shall receive it, and or something like that. Anyhow, the point is, and it's talking about your emotional intelligence, being aware of your emotional intelligence because it's always guiding you. So the fact that you were bothered and the fact that it's always, maybe not every moment of your life, but the fact that it's been on your mind, that tells you at a core level that something is missing. And here's the thing, we're going to get into the topic right now, but one of the things that I want you, it's so perfect. You're like totally giving me the perfect segue to the conversation today, and that is, that when you have a lack of integrity, you have lack of power. So anytime you feel like there's just, like I said last week, like maybe someone makes you feel uncomfortable or there's something there, you got to look at that. And whether you might think, oh, it's not a big deal, but even the fact that you're like acknowledging that discomfort, it is a big deal, because what happens is it starts to accumulate and it starts to boil up inside of you, and not something as simple as, hey, you know what, I'm so sorry that I ripped your sweater. It was so not my intention. Something that simple would have eliminated a huge amount of stress. You would have gotten your power back, which you did. So I want you guys, I have this like little model that I live by, and that is, I'd rather spend 5 minutes of an uncomfortable conversation and move on than drag things on for 5, 6, 7 months, 5, 6, 7 years. So, it took a while for me to get to this point, but here's the thing. So we're going to start with this. As we were talking about, the most important ingredient in leadership is integrity. Cannot trust you if there's not integrity. Now, again, like I mentioned last week on the call, this is not about a morality. It's not about the right or the wrong. It's not about any of that. It's just really doing the things that you said you were going to do by the time you said you were going to do them. And we're going to add one more layer to that, and that is, it is a sense and the thing of being whole and complete. For example, you, Jennifer, talking about, you accidentally ripped her sweater. I'm sure you didn't do it on purpose. But the fact that you didn't acknowledge it, now there's something missing. So now it's that whole relationship is out of integrity. And some people can be like, okay, come on, seriously, Karla, it's just a sweater. But the thing is, as you discovered, it wasn't the sweater. It was the fact that she felt dismissed. It was the fact that she felt she wasn't acknowledged. She wasn't appreciated. So now that leaves the friendship something missing. Can it still work? Absolutely. And this is why relationships fall apart, because little things, one thing after another, it's like they say at Landmark, right? They have this analogy where they say, like, the wheel, and you have, it has all these, what do you call those things, those spurs, those little wire things, right? And if you take one out, the bicycle is still going to work. It's still going to function, but now it's not in full integrity. You take another one out, it's going to lose its strength. It's going to lose its capacity to function with whole and completeness. So that is what we're talking about here, not morality, although, like we mentioned last week on the call, is it right to steal? Is it right to rob and all that kind of stuff? No. Then your character is out of integrity, right? But for the state of leadership here, we want to talk about that. Really, it's defining the state of being complete, whole and complete, unified, nothing missing, okay? So here's the thing we want to add to last week's call, and that is, you want to start asking yourself, do your words and your deeds match up? Okay? Do what you say and what you actually do they match up? Because here's the thing, you guys, again, this is not about somebody else. This is about you and your leadership. And one of the things that I've been attempting to like drill in everyone's heads, and including mine, is that when you say one thing and you don't do it, you're actually out of integrity with yourself. And that's really the point here, okay? It's not about impressing somebody or not impressing somebody, but really having the state of full and completeness and having the word that do your words and your deeds, do they match up? Because if they don't, now you feel like there's something missing with you. And then that starts lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence, lack of power, etc. So one of the things I really want to encourage you guys this week is not only to honor your word with people around you, honor your word when you say you're going to be on time or whatever it is that you're saying. And when you don't, just acknowledge it, okay, and move on. Acknowledge it, recognize it, and then move on, okay? But more importantly, well, not saying more importantly, but just as important is to really acknowledge the power and the word that you have within yourself. So ask yourself, do your words and my deeds, do they match up? Am I who I am no matter where I am or who I am with? See, this is something also as you start getting more comfortable with yourself, as you start really acknowledging who you are and you feel good, like they say, in your own skin, you will start noticing that you will be a person of integrity, meaning that you are whole and complete with yourself. That no matter where you are, no matter who you're with, no matter what circumstances, and now, of course, will there be variety in your personality? Of course. If you're going to be at a football game, will you be the same as you are at church? No. But what I mean is like who you are at the core, inside. You will be who you are no matter where you are, no matter who you're with. See, people with integrity, does not have like this divided loyalty, or they don't need to pretend. It's not like, okay, I'm going to be this person over here, and I'm going to be this person over here. Okay, I just got off the phone right before this call. It was so funny. Somebody called me. Actually, my accountant called me. We have a really, really good friendship, and it's so funny, right? Because he's like my mentor in many things, but when it comes to like spirituality and leadership and his direction, for whatever reason, he always calls me. He's like, I have a question for you, Karla. I'm like, what's up? And he started telling me, he's like, I just feel like, I've been working really hard. My business is good. This is good. This is good. And he started to talk about his life as if they are pieces. Like, this is my career. This is my personal relationship. This is my spirituality. This is my family, right? And here's the thing. I was like telling him, I go, Tony, we walk around life, and I know I have to constantly remind myself of this. We walk around life as if we've got all these divisions of life, right? We have like, this is my personal life, and I'm going to be like this here. This is my relationship, and I'm going to be like this here. This is my business life, and I'm going to be like this here. But really, you are who you are no matter where you're at. Now, will you adapt to the circumstances? Absolutely. Will you adapt like your strategy? Absolutely. But at the core, who you are, when you are a person of integrity and you're whole and complete with yourself, you will notice you won't have this you won't be divided. You won't have you won't need to feel like a divided of loyalty. You won't need to pretend. You will just be good. Okay. I guess you could say people that are identified like with integrity, they're an open book. It's not like that we do so much. It's not so much like what we do, but it's like who we are at the core. And I was telling the guys last night on the call in Spanish that if you start noticing, some people don't like to look in your eyes. Like when they talk to you, right, they don't look at you, right? They look at the corner of your eye or the corner of your head. And some people won't ask you questions. Like they avoid at all costs to ask questions, because they don't want you to ask them questions, especially when they have something to hide. You will notice, and here's the thing, I'm going to encourage you guys, don't pass judgment, okay? Acknowledge it, recognize it, but don't judge a human being, because you never know what they're going through. And I know that's hard at times, because I really do believe that at our core, we're all good. There are just things that happen. We're not present. We're not conscious. We're in this like funky state of mind. But you'll notice that certain people, when they don't feel good about themselves and they have this like uncomfortableness, or, they're not good with something, like let's say they're doing something out of integrity. They're doing something out of who they know themselves to be. They won't look at you in the eyes. They'll avoid questions. They'll, at all costs, they're just uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable. They're uneasy about something. So as a leader, you must start acknowledging that with other people. But more importantly, I'm going to encourage you to start acknowledging that with yourself. Do you look at people in the eye when you talk to them? Does it make you feel uncomfortable when they ask you questions? Okay? I have to admit to you, about a year and a half ago, when I wasn't good with myself, and I'm still working on it, right? But when I definitely wasn't good with myself, I would avoid people, and I would avoid people asking me questions because I didn't want to have to answer. So I was like, they call me the girl of the 5-second hello because I wanted to, like, rush out of there because I didn't want to be discovered because I was so not good with myself. Now people can ask me whatever they want. Like I was telling them last night on the call that one of this guy, he's just a friend, right? But I was feeling he kind of likes me. And he came over to the house, and my girlfriend, Sochi, and I, we were here. And so we were having some drinks, whatever. And I was, like, totally 100% myself. And it was funny because I was, like, thinking that I was loud and totally myself because, you know, I've always been told that I was too much and all this other BS that people label you as. And all of a sudden you feel you have to mold yourself to this, you know, label. People tell you you're this, you're that, you're rude, or you're mean, or you're too hyper, or you're too happy, or you're too whatever, right? And all of a sudden you walk around life as if that is the truth. Okay? It's so not the truth. But whatever the case may be, people feel like they have to, and we talked a lot about this last night on the call, people put you in this, like, mold, and then you try to fit in that mold, and it doesn't feel right because it's not really who you are. But anyhow, back to my integrity conversation here. So I was completely 100% myself with my girlfriend. We were, like, talking and, like, just totally, like, just being 100% me. And I have to tell you something. I was really thinking this was going to kind of, like, scare him and be like, all right, she's, like, way too much for me to handle right now, right? But it was so funny because it was completely the opposite. He's like, you're so cool. Like, you're so cool to hang out with. I'm like, uh-oh. That, like, backfired. But what I got from that was people, it's sexy when you are authentic. It is sexy and hot and attractive and brilliant and bright, and like it's people are attracted to that when they feel that that person is completely themselves. And here's the thing, as a leader, that is who you want to be. You want to be responsible, absolutely. You don't want to be yelling and screaming like you would at fit camp at church. I get that. But if you're the type of person that you're a happy-go-lucky person, then be happy-go-lucky. If you're a person that has more of an internal, like, you know, dialogue where you're more like happy but you're more like chill, then be you. Because people can fake something, people will smell it. People will smell the funk, right? People will smell the fakeness. So you want to make sure that you really start, you know, being an open book, because it's not so much about, you know, what you do, but it's really who you are. And I love this phrase. It says, it is not so much, let me see, now I have to translate it in English. It's not what we do so much as it is who we are, because who we are determines what we do. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to say it again. Okay, it's not what we do that's so important as it is who we are, because it is who we are that determines what we do. And our systems and our values is so much part of us that you can't separate it. When you really are, like, at your core, you're clear about who you are, the systems and the values of your life, like, they're not separate. They're like they are who you are no matter where you go, okay? And it becomes the navigation system that guides you. And I'm going to encourage you for this next week to really start to establish, like, the ground rules, like, that will determine who you are and how will you respond, to start thinking about, like, okay, who am I, right? Like, am I somebody, like, to start really getting present. When something comes around you, start getting present to how you think, how you react. Because here's the thing I want to encourage you. I love this little phrase. Let me just read this straight from the book. It says here, it becomes a navigation system that guides you. It establishes the ground rules and it determines who you are and how you will respond before the conflict even appears. So, in other words, I'm gonna read it again just in case you guys didn't get that. So, when your navigation system is so dead on, like you know who you are, how you like how you define yourself, and like what you stand for, the values, what you're not willing to compromise with. When you're like good with all of that, okay, that establishes the ground rules, and it determines who you are and how you will respond to certain situations before the conflict even appears. So here's the thing I want you to get, and here's is so important, that when you are a leader, things are always going to come about you, right? Like people will look to you to resolve problems. People will look your direction when something is going on. So if when you are so good at your core, like what your values in like what you stand for, and you're a person that's like quote unquote whole and complete, when a circumstance comes, you'll be good. There won't be any drama. There won't be any screaming. And I love this. Raquel Cortez, a Chairman's Club member, says, let me think how you say it in English. Only ignorant people lose their temper. I love that. Only ignorant people, and I don't mean like you're dumb, right? But only ignorant people lose their temper. And why I love that is because it's so true. See, somebody who's good, who's got good self-control, something can come about you. Like the other day, I'll tell you, I wrote an article for La Opinión in Spanish, and some interesting human being was making these comments on my Facebook, right? And then he was making one comment after another. He just wouldn't stop. And I'm not going to say that I wasn't upset, right? And I was like, but at the same time, it kind of made me laugh. Where before, I think a lot of people would be like, F you, blah, 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 right? And start arguing. Only an ignorant person would do that. Only an ignorant person would yell back. And a person of integrity, a person that's good in their own skin, a smart person, a strategic person, would not react that way. You know, I once heard somebody say that they pay a CEO a lot of money because they have the capacity to resolve problems with calmness. Could you imagine a CEO being like, oh my God, like the whole company would be like, oh my God, if the CEO is freaking out, then we should be freaking out even more. But if you notice, like especially like in our company, Des Walsh, our president, whenever there's a problem, people go to him to resolve it because he resolves it. And when you tell him a problem, he's calm, he's at ease, because I'm pretty sure, and that's one of the things we're going to start talking about, is that what is the authentic leadership within you? That's really all these calls for getting to that. You really want to start identifying who are you as a leader and what kind of leadership style do you want to have, or do you have naturally? You know, last night, Gaby Carreño shared something that was brilliant. She said that after last week's call, she started to really, or the whole week after all these calls, she's been really present to like how she responds to things, and she's noticed how she's super uneasy about some things in some areas of her life, and she like has some, you know, like she's not easy about, or like she's not at ease with certain things. And she realized that it's because for certain areas of her life, or in certain moments of her life, she has been trying to fit into this mold that she thought she had to be. She had to fit into this mold that it was like the right thing to do, but she realized that's not who she is. Like she's been realizing that's not what she wants. She's been realizing that's like not what her life wants, what she wants her life to be about. So no wonder she's been fighting herself. You know, like imagine people, I don't know, for those of you who know me well, like I'm really a happy, a little bit hyper kind of a person, okay? That's just who I am. Imagine if all of a sudden somebody told me, you know what, Karla, you must be serious. You'll kill me. You'll kill my spirit. And and a lot of people do this, if I adapt to, now of course I'm going to be like serious from a board meeting, right? But if I'm constantly trying to adapt in myself into this mold, it's like a shoe that doesn't fit. And you're like, well, this is a shoe that everybody told me I have to wear. Everybody told me I have to wear the shoe. So there you are, putting your freaking foot in the shoe, and it hurts and it's painful. But you're like, yeah, but and then people could tell, like, you're uncomfortable. People can tell there's something wrong, and you're like thinking, yeah, but they told me this is a shoe I have to wear, so I'm going to make this fit, right? And that's why you're not happy. That's another thing my accountant just asked me. He's like, Karla, are you happy? I'm like, you know what? I can honestly say 90% of the time I am. Like, there's things that pop up. Yeah, there's things that sometimes I get a little sad or, yeah, of course, I'm human. But, like, if I get sad, I just put on my dance shoes and I go dancing. That's been my new thing, you guys. I've been going dancing like almost every night. But, but that's the thing. It's like really to start getting to know what are your triggers and what can you create to make you happy. And you can't get to that point until you start having integrity in your life, in who you are, what you stand for, what you're willing to compromise with, what you're not willing to compromise with. But all of this conversation, as heavy as it is, I wanted to wait until we got, I wanted to, baby steps, right? Getting present to who you are, what you stand for, being present to, your surroundings, the influence you have with people around you. So, I just want to really, before I open the lines right now, I want to really give you guys a little bit of a homework, okay? And that is start looking this week, okay? Not only where are you out of integrity with the people around you, okay, but where are you out of integrity with yourself? Are you putting on that shoe that doesn't fit? And if that's the case, it's okay, right? Baby steps. Start looking at what shoe does fit. If you start acknowledging, well, you know what, I say one thing, but I'm not following through. Okay, well, is it because you need to put things in place, as we talked about in the first series? Put things in place for you to win. Okay, for example, for me, I went out last night. I didn't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning, but I put on my whiteboard, wake up at 6 a.m., be at the gym at 6:30, so I can be at this call by 9 o'clock. And guess what? That's exactly what I did. Because I went to sleep already with my day planned. So I'm putting things in place to win. So I want you guys this week to start thinking about that. Where are you out of integrity with your life? Where are you out of integrity with yourself? And Jennifer, congratulations for being in action. When you start, everyone on the call, when you start taking those action steps, you will start noticing your self-esteem will increase. You'll just be unstoppable. If you start doing one thing at a time, it's just like a snowball, one thing after another from your meals. I said I was going to drink a gallon of water. I did that yesterday. I had my 5 meals. I had my 2 shakes. I've been on it. But it's because of the little disciplines that I've been implementing one day at a time, and being nice to myself and not talking bad to myself, whatever, I don't want to say it, but any disempowering words. I've been present to all that, and now it's starting to show up in my energy, in my power, in my actions. So I know it's at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go. I know we started a little bit late because I couldn't find my notes as my computer crashed, but I'm going to go ahead and open the lines, and then we'll end the call in a few minutes. Okay, hold up. Okay, does anybody have any comments or any questions or anything they would like to share about last week's call or anything that you would like to share about? My very quiet group. Okay. Nobody wants to share anything that's been happening or did anybody besides Jennifer? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
Karla, it's Karen, and I really appreciate my being on these calls with you. It's been really eye-opening, and one of the things is sometimes we do feel and try and put ourselves into a shoe because of what we believe others have expected or have said about us, and we kind of evaluate or step back and withdraw, and becoming an authentic leader. Once you kind of put yourself outside, it takes sometimes quite a bit for someone to really get to know who you are. And I have just felt that with other things going on in my life is that, maybe I'm not being honest with who I am sometimes, but I sometimes feel as though you've been talked about or things gone on, and you've been put in this little shelf or in this box, like you say, a shoe that doesn't really fit, and you're very uncomfortable. And how important it is to examine yourself and say, I need to get myself out of there and become who I truly am. So
Karen, this is so great. Thank you so much for saying that. Oh, my gosh. You know, I bet there is a lot of people on the call. Thank you for saying that. There are a lot of people on the call that have been there, because there has been, if not, there is someone in all of our lives that, for example, let's just say that, you know, someone's, you know, I'll just give you my personal example. And I'm going to resolve that, okay? First of all, it takes time, right? But here's the thing. For all of you who didn't know me many years ago, I was I knew myself to be, okay, there we go. See, I caught myself. I knew myself to be a person who would act impatient, a little bit, not rude where I would like yell at you, but definitely would come across rude, strong, just not pleasant to be around me, okay? So for a while, for a couple of years, a lot of people, and people that cared about me and knew me, they would tell me, you know what, Karla, like, what's going on with you? Like, you just, you know, and, you know, people are saying that you're rude. People are saying that you make them feel uncomfortable. They ask you for a picture. You say no. And I was like, I don't have time for a picture. Really? What are they going to do with this stupid picture? Like, that was my attitude, right? And, again, that's because I wasn't happy with myself at that moment in time. But whatever the case may be, the point is, people I didn't have the best image, okay? And people didn't necessarily think, oh, Karla, she's super cool and super nice. Let me go say hi to her, okay? That was not how they related to me. So what I did, and this is something that it took a lot of guts, okay? But when I knew that there were, like, for example, I went to L.A. to do an SPS, and I actually cleaned it up before I started the meeting. I said, hey, you guys, you know, before I get started, I just really want to take a moment and I want to share something with you guys, you know. A couple of years ago, and I just came out and clean. Here's the thing. It is sexy to be authentic, and it is sexy to call one on yourself. It's sexy because here's the thing. Nobody is perfect, but we walk around life as if we are, right? So I actually told them, I said, you know what, I want to take a moment. I want to share something with you guys. You know, about a couple of years ago, in case some of you didn't experience this, I wasn't exactly the happiest person. I was withdrawn. I was isolated. So whenever I came to any of these meetings, I definitely didn't want to say hi to anybody. I definitely didn't want to take a picture. And it wasn't because of it wasn't because I didn't like anybody. It was just because I wasn't happy. I wasn't good. Sometimes I didn't even want to be at the meetings, but I was forcefully. So if there was a moment, if any of you guys, if I harmed you, if I was rude to you, if I was dismissive, because that's probably the best way to describe me back then. If I dismissed you, I want to apologize, and I want you guys to please consider taking my apology, because it was not my intention. It was just where I was at that moment in my life, and then I told them now who I am, you know, and now I'm committed to connecting with people. And, you know, it's taking me some time to come out of that funk, but I just want to, you know, so I acknowledged it, Karen. And what happened was, so many times that I did this, because I did this for like a whole year, because everywhere I went, I had to clean it up, because Karla was dismissive and rude before. When I did that, people would come up to me and they're like, oh, my God, you know what, Karla, I have to tell you something. And they would tell me, you know what I did? I thought you were not nice, because one time I asked you for a picture and you didn't say, and you wouldn't take it with me, and, you know, and I'm like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Like, seriously, it was like not my intention. I just came out clean. And so now that's not maybe the case for everybody, but if you do know that someone's like uncomfortable with you and you feel that it is worth cleaning up, like if it's important to you, I would really take the time to clean it up. And then you've got to know that people are going to be watching you. They're not necessarily going to just trust this new you just because you said you're different. Now it's got to be earned, right? But the first step is acknowledging it. Because here's the thing, it happens to all of us, right? We all have something somewhere to clean up, as Jennifer did with her friend, and then boom, now they're talking again. So thank you so much for that, Jennifer. Anybody else before we say goodbye? No? Okay. All right, you guys. So go ahead. Let me end the recording really quick.